remember the microphone. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to today's holiday hangout stream, where I'll be joining you to tell you about my some of my favorite things of 2015, and also to catch up with a bunch of you who I haven't seen in a long time. So as always, this is a live stream. If you are watching this live, you can leave comments in the chat and I can read them. Please let me know if the audio levels are okay because I'm kind of flying blind here a little. But yes, I will be reading your comments in the chat. Right now it is 10:30 in Sydney. It's a lovely 26 degrees. Luckily, the sky is slightly overcast, which means that the light is not, too overbearing. Now I have to remember to bring up my notes for this stream. Yep, I have them all here. I have like a million windows open at the same time. So I guess I will start by saying hello, and I hope you are all very well. Uh, and please let me know what you've been up to in the past, like, say, 6 months or something, that I've been on a bit of a break for this stream. But I will start by telling you that I've been all right. I've just been working on my university thesis. Mostly that's it. That's it, really. Um, I've not actually, because I'm gonna get the impression I'm gonna get a bunch of people asking me about um, any headphones I've tried recently. I actually haven't been keeping my head in the game, so to speak. Okay, so Rohan says that he would like another 6 decibels on the microphone. I'll see what I can do. Let's see. So I will, of course, this is, as always, an incredibly professionally done show here. So, of course, I am very happy to oblige. So that should be about 4 decibels. I've bumped it up about 4 decibels. So let me know if that is all right. So Japreet Singh says it is 11:30 p.m. in England. I chose this time because it's roughly it's roughly a time that a bunch of people can tune in. So yeah, hopefully this is a decent time and you're not all either too early or too late. Uh, Sergeant Salazar asks, can you please upload this stream so that some people can watch later? Yes, that will be happening. So the format for today's stream is I'm going to go through a list of some of my favorite things for 2015, and then I am going to throughout the stream respond to your chats and comments. So of course, if you're watching this live, you can pop a line into the comment box, and I will probably finish this off with an actual Q&A session, specifically while I just sit here and answer some of your more specific questions. VD's production says volume is okay, but you're out of sync. Unfortunately, I can't do much about the sync because that's sort of more up to the streaming powers that be. But hopefully, it's not too distracting. Probably the easiest way. It's not going to be much of a visually interesting show. Uh, I had wanted to show you some clips of and music of some of the things I'm going to talk about, but just with the YouTube Content ID system, it's likely that if I play anything visually or anything sound-wise that is copyrighted, it will result in the stream being muted or the stream being terminated. So obviously that's something I want to avoid. But I will do my best to try and give you some stimulus, so to speak. Okay, so let's get right into it. We got a bunch of people asking about a bunch of variety of different headphones. So again, I'll state, I haven't actually, while I've been taking my break, I haven't actually been actively pursuing a great deal of new audio products. One of the things that I did buy was this little windsock for the microphone here that you can see. And in case you're wondering what this is the Sennheiser Game 1 headset, which I unboxed on an earlier live stream. The only audio product I've bought actually in the recent holiday sales has been the Bose QC20, which I have here that you can see with the new black and blue sort of cables. All I can say sort of about these earphones is I bought them because I've been pretty happy with the QC25's noise cancellation, so I did buy these out of sheer curiosity. They've been alright so far. What I can say is that the noise cancelling has a little more quirks to it compared to the QC25, in that sometimes I've found that if my hair brushes across the earpiece, it makes a little crackling noise, or in some circumstances it will produce some interesting fizzes or that kind of thing over the noise cancelling, and it doesn't block out voices, I would say, quite as well as the QC25, but otherwise this is actually more comfortable, I would say, than the QC25. Very comfortable in ear. There's not a great deal of inner ear pressure. It doesn't actually go that far in. It does quite a good job of cancelling noise, so that's always a good thing. So I would I'll see, because I only bought that a few days ago. I'll see what my long-term thoughts about it are. And of course, I got a question about from EJ993. How is the iPhone 6s audio quality? Did it get any better? I did in fact return the 6s because the buzzing noise did not resolve itself. But I went back to my iPhone 5s, and I don't know. We'll see where it goes from here. I don't. I was not able to, see a resolution from there. Robert Kim asks, "Are you from the south of Yangtze River, like Fuking, I think, the majority of Singapore?" I'm not from Singapore. I am actually from Hong Kong. Luca says the QC25 is super boring in the treble. The QC20 is even more boring in the treble than the QC25. It doesn't have that upper mid peak, and the treble is a little veiled. But I actually quite like the bass tone. It's quite a smooth sounding earphone, I would guess. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, and actually the first time I heard it, I thought it sounded sort of muddy. But over time, as I've always said about the noise cancelling products, you do end up hearing more details from the fact that so much background noise is cancelled out. Anyway, okay, so obviously we're well in, sorry, to the headphone talk at the moment. I did want to talk about some other things, but we'll start with the favorite things in the category of favorite headphones of this year. So it's always hard for me to choose a favorite headphone, and I'm not going to be really able to mention anything that was released this year as my favorite headphone, I guess. I should. I generally talk about favorite headphones as the ones that I use day to day, and I've mostly actually recently sold a whole bunch of my stuff, even though it doesn't look like it from the back. I've actually sold a bunch of stuff, so I've only really kept the stuff that I use daily or that I use close to a daily basis. So obviously there's the standard favorites that I've always enjoyed using, the Beyerdynamic T51P, the Beat Solo 2. I've actually found that this year I've been surprised at how much I've ended up wearing the Beat Solo 2, because it is definitely a bassy headphone. It's actually, I found, in terms of long-term wearing comfort, even though the clamping force is higher than the T51P, because the ear pads are quite a bit more plusher, over time it does mean that it actually ends up being decently comfortable, because the pads are a little bit more plush. So it actually, despite my initial reservations about the clamping force, over time wearing this, I have found it to be a bit more comfortable. So yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised by how much longevity I've gotten out of this headphone. Um, Gon Amir asks for a recommendation of the best entry-level open backs, and Rohan, is it Rohan? No, Luca has said the AKG K612, and yes, that is something that I would recommend. That is basically my first recommendation to anyone after a cheap open back. It's the K612. You cannot go wrong with the K612. Okay, so of course I use the Audio-Technica IMO2 as my sort of daily headphone. But um, and Sergeant Salazar is signing off, so bye, and thanks for your kind comments in the chat. Of course, if you're watching this live, you can leave comments in the chat. Please do. Keeps everyone, you know, keeps this more of an interactive experience. But I would have to say, if I have to name my favorite headphone um, of this year, it would be the Sony XBA Z5, which you might have remembered me buying on sort of almost on an impulse in Hong Kong. And it's sort of crazy for me to say that because this is probably the single most expensive earphone purchase that I've ever made. What I would say about this earphone is it's not like I do use this more often than most of my other earphones. In fact, I use it quite rarely in comparison to, say, some of my on-ear headphones. But the reason why it's my favorite, and maybe this is just post-purchase justification, considering I did blow, close to $600 on this headphone, if not more. Um, I just really like the way it combines a super, super kind of chunky bass response with a very clean, very sort of ethereal treble, and it does it all with this very wide soundstage that's very uncharacteristic of in-ears. Now, the shape of this earphone is so wholly unsuited for outdoor use. You can use it outdoors, but it just collects wind noise like nothing else. It has better isolation than the previous Sony flagships. Rohan asks if I'm sure I'm not regretting getting the Z5 over the TH600. I do kick myself for not actually buying that TH600 at the discount price as well, but I don't regret buying this earphone at all. It's actually been something that I've worn quite a lot when I've been studying, because it's got quite good long-term comfort. It's easy to take around when I go outside. So when I'm sitting in the library, I do really appreciate these, and I've gotten more appreciative of these as time has gone on, just maybe from those experiences. Angelo MM says, I love your hair, nice hair, can I touch it sometime? What I especially love about the way that comment is disturbing in some respects is because everything is in lowercase, but there are full stops. So I'll just point that out. Okay, so that's basically it. Like the Z5 has been sort of my flavor of the year, I suppose. I've been very happy about owning that. The Z5, I don't find it particularly. I mean, it's not going to be the most neutral earphone in the world. It's not the earphone that you're going to go for if you want, oh, this is what the artist intended or whatever. But they are crazy, just crazy bombastic, and it's crazy to have that kind of sound in such a small earphone package. So that's the Z5, and oh, um, I meant to have like awesome metal award music. So, okay, so the award for my 2015 headphone of the year goes to the Sony XBA Z5, the flagship earphone that I bought with Hong Kong stimulus money, and it's great. So, do you like this? Do you like this professional this professional like a soundboard that I'm doing here? All right, so that's I guess it for earphones of the year. Let's move on now because I did want to talk about some other things. And of course, I will respond to your comments in the chat, though obviously you guys do have quite a lot of things to comment on, so I will do my best. But let's move on. Let's go on to my favorite music, my favorite albums of the year. So there was actually quite a lot of music released this year, and it's always tough for me to name my favorite albums of the year. Uh, and a lot of the stuff I listen to, it doesn't exactly. A lot of stuff I've ended up listening to hasn't come out this year, but I've decided to restrict myself to stuff that's been released this year. so I can tell you about some of my favorite albums. And again, I would love to play you parts of those albums, but due to copyright restrictions, I just don't want to get the chat muted, and then there's all this stuff that has to be done, blah, 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 blah. But while I'm talking about these albums, you are very welcome to go search for them on YouTube and have a bit of a listen while I talk about them. So the albums that were released this year that I want to mention first, some of my favorite albums of this year. Um, One of the first ones released at the end of this year is One O Tricks Point Never, the album Garden of Delete from One O Tricks Point Never. And because that's so difficult to spell, I will just put that into the chat right now. There we go. It's amazing what modern science allows me to do. So, I really love One O Tricks Point Never. I particularly love the album that he made, R plus 7. It's a sort of almost experimental electronic album. Um, I don't like Garden of Delete quite as much as R plus 7 because R plus 7 had this sort of super tacky, false reverential sound to it. R plus 7 is basically a bunch of samples, almost from. Normally, when you listen to electronic music, uh, they try to, as much as possible, to hide these cheesy samples, and they try to bury it under all these filters and make it sound new and interesting. But what's interesting about R plus 7 is that that album is composed entirely of samples that sound like they come out of Windows 95 or something. And because they are such tiny, they're such cheesy samples, the whole album comes off sounding like this sort of tongue-in-cheek statement about the post-digital age of like consumerism and that kind of thing. But at the same time, there's a sort of amazing reverence to the whole album because of the use of like these kind of organ tones throughout it. So I really, really recommend R plus 7 by One O Tricks Point Never. That was my favorite album, I believe, of 2014, 2013. It was one of those years. I can't remember when I found it. Garden of Delete, his new release this year, is a little bit more. It's a little bit more, I guess, grounded. It's a little more aggressive. It doesn't have that same sense of, I guess, irony that R plus 7 has, but it does have quite a lot of really interesting musical elements to it. It's a little more aggressive. It's almost a little more poppy in some senses. The track that I would kind of highlight from the album is Sticky Drama, which you can actually look up the awesome, awesome music video for. Um, but yes, Robert Kim says vaporwave is anti-capitalist music for postmodern hipsters. I would kind of agree with that statement. Um, Actually, One O Tricks Point Never released one of the foundational vaporwave albums. Though the music that he makes under the name One O Tricks Point Never, I would not, I would not, I would not qualify as vaporwave. But it's about as helpful as musical genres can get. Anyway, okay, another in the same vein of experimental electronic music, another album that I did listen to this year that I did really enjoy is Platform by Holly Hendren. So I'll put that into the chat again. Platform by Holly Hendren. And that has been an awesome, very technical kind of experimental music album that I discovered through Apple Music. It was actually the first recommendation I got from Apple Music. It's been awesome. That's really worth checking out, particularly the opening track from that album, which I believe is called Interference. That's also really good if you like something really densely textural. There's also a really funny track, number 7, Lonely at the Top, which is sort of like an ASMR take of video. I've noticed that I'm getting quite a lot of comments in my hair. Oh, sorry, on my hair. Getting the comments in my hair. Getting the comments on my hair, which I guess I will address after this. But Okay, that is an awesome album. The other album that I will also mention, I guess, In Color by Jamie XX. That was, of course, a very big release this year. I really enjoyed that album. I was really looking forward to the release of that album. I don't like every track on that album, but it is something, especially the track Stranger in a Room. It's a track that I can read over and over and over again. It is awesome. Also, Kerry and Lowell by Sufjan Stevens. I mean, I'm a big fan of Sufjan Stevens, and Kerry and Lowell is a very personal, acoustic, sort of quiet album. I listen to it when I go on trips. It's such a mellow, peaceful sort of album. It's very personal. If you want something that's just nice and it's just a really good acoustic album. Most of Sufjan Stevens' albums are like that. So yeah, and the last album that I'll mention that isn't my favorite album of the year, um, is Grimes's Art Angels. So I was a little I've of mixed minds about Art Angels, which was released towards the end of this year. I was really excited to see that getting released. Grimes in interviews said that half the album is quite weird and half the album is quite poppy, um, or words to that effect. I have to say, unfortunately, I like about half the album. Some of the other album, some of the other parts of the album, I find a little, I don't know. It's a well written album. I can't say it's not well written. Um, and almost if they were two separate albums, I would have liked it more, I suspect. But maybe this is my own hang up. But some of the tracks are sort of, I think, aggressive and sort of texturally interesting and more like Grimes' previous work, although the whole album as a whole, all the tracks are much more poppy. For one thing, you can actually decipher what Grimes can say, what Grimes is saying. So that's a big difference from her previous albums. But it still doesn't have that sort of ethereal outer worldliness that Visions had, and Visions is one of my absolute favorite albums of all time. Art Angels, I can say I really like the tracks Flesh Without Blood. I can really say I really love the track Kill v Mame, Kill versus Mame. But some of the tracks I find, just a little, just a little boring. I would say I just say they're just a little boring, and that's my main criticism of that album. Otherwise, I think it's still one of the best albums of 2015 that I've heard. But yeah, Picky Axe says, don't you like any pop senpai or senpai, as I've seen some people pronounce it? Um, I um I don't listen to the radio a great deal, and so I don't actually encounter much pop music. So I don't have uh I don't have any specific I don't have any specific thing against pop music. I just don't really find out what's uh, popular. So, for instance, I don't really know. Um, I haven't heard that new Adele album. I don't know. Um, Angelo says, I think I'd love Tame Impala. I actually, I had mixed feelings about Inner Speaker. I don't know about the new album. I haven't really heard it. I think it's I think it should be all right. I've heard little bits of it which I enjoyed. I should actually probably check that out. So thank you for that recommendation. Okay, and Kellen Mackenzie is asking me to speak Chinese. Uh, it's sort of embarrassing, so maybe I'll just leave that at the end of the stream. I'll speak some Chinese at the end of the stream, and you can tell me how it sounds. So if you can stick through to the end, you can hear some of my lovely dulcet Chinese tones. Anyway, so I will name my album of the year now. Um, and my album of the year, which also has my favorite cover art of the year, is the album Let me get these. I can't even say it. It is M3LL155X by FKA Twigs. That is my album of the year, and it is actually it's a EP, I believe. It's actually only 6 tracks. Uh, Short and sweet. Uh, what FKA Twigs did, she does a sort of abrasive hip hop influenced electronic kind of music, though she sort of went in the opposite directions of Grimes, where she actually became more, I guess, aggressive and less poppy with M3LL155X, which I again cannot name the album. I cannot pronounce the name of this album, so again I'll pop it in to the chat. I love this album. It's it's just sort of sarcastic and snarling and aggressive, and it sounds great, and it has awesome album art. And I will so yeah, that's my album of the year. So okay, and I said that I would talk about my hair. Um, since everyone always comments on the hair on this stream, I will tell you I do not do anything special with my hair. I I'll say this, I don't use shampoo every day because otherwise, it's just not great for your hair to use shampoo every day. That's about it. Sometimes I blow dry it. I don't really put any sort of gel or anything in my hair because it will get into the headphones, blah, 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 blah. Um, just don't expose your hair to extreme heat, and that will probably keep it a bit healthier. But otherwise, it's genetics, so can't help you there. My dad has really hard hair. My mum has very soft hair, and somehow, somehow, I've gotten the best of both worlds, which is lucky. Uh, Emmanuel Martinez says your voice and lips don't match, which I think sound like a your voice and lips don't match. Sounds like a really awesome Brooklyn hipster indie band name. But maybe not your voice and lips don't match. It'd just be voice and lips don't match, and it would be like the track name for one of the tracks from The Strokes. I can imagine a track called Voice and Lips Don't Match. That'd be cool. So that's mine now. I own that idea. You can't copy it. I will be releasing that track as the next hip, disaffected young man on the Brooklyn Williamsburg music scene. And Robert says, Kim, a very insightful comment. He says he just gets his hair cut a certain way. I used to have long hair, but it gets irritating with IEM, so I keep it shorter now. It does get a little irritating. I do just get it cut a certain way. I've gotten very adept at going to a Korean hairdresser and asking them to cut it in a particular way, which is to say I get two on the sides, undercut on the hair, and keep the fringe vaguely long. Blah blah blah. Yeah, so that's it about the hair. I, I've told, I've said something about the hair many times in the stream, uh, but I guess there is. Everyone wants to know the secret. There is no secret to the hair. I unfortunately cannot do much about the audio being delayed on the stream. The best I can recommend you do, if you are watching this live, uh, is maybe reload the page and the stream audio will sync up again. There's not much I can do on my end, unfortunately. I just press the stream button and just hope and pray that it works. That's pretty much it. Okay, so let's move on. How are we doing for time? So we've gone about half an hour in. And again, if you are watching this live, you can pop your comments into the comment box. If you aren't watching this live, you can still make a comment. You can still leave comments. Of course, I won't respond to them in real time. But I am on. Elijah asked if I am on cable or ADSL. I'm actually on a shared fiber optic connection to this apartment block. And this apartment block actually has a 10 megabit upload speed, which is faster than most upload speeds in Australia. So I can't quite tell why there would be any specific delay or latency. It shouldn't be due to the connection. From my end, it looks like it's unfortunately um, a lot of this is quite vague. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm connecting to YouTube servers in America, so it's not always going to be the smoothest experience, unfortunately. But if you can bear with me, you don't have to watch my face, I guess, when I talk. This could almost be like a podcast. I'm not exactly doing anything amazing on camera. Um, but I'm glad you do care about the quality um, of my visage. Okay, so let's move on to the next category, and I wanted to talk about my favorite anime slash manga of the year. And I could say, uh, I'll tell you first, actually, this year, towards the end of the year, I actually got a subscription to Crunchyroll and Anime Lab, which is so there's two competing services in Australia, like two big ones. There's Crunchyroll, which is a company from the United States, I believe, been long-time players in the anime streaming game. And then there's Anime Lab, which is actually a streaming service launched by um, Madman Entertainment, which is the very entrenched, very long time, very established uh, licensor for anime titles in Australia. So they decided to launch their own streaming service, and it's actually been sort of fun comparing the two services. If you are in Australia, this summer and you do like anime, this might be of some interest to you. I found Anime Labs uh, service is quite good in terms of licensing very popular shows. So because they are Madman, they have the ability to license the good stuff that's coming out of Japan, the really big shows. So, for instance, I believe they're simulcasting One Punch Man now, which I haven't watched because I was just asked that in the comments. I haven't watched One Punch Man yet, but they have a lot of really big titles, and what they license, companies like Crunchyroll can't license in Australia because they have the exclusive licensing rights. So, they've got a lot of interesting stuff there. They've got the Steins Gate anime that I wanted to watch. I've started watching Madoka Magica, which is sort of really funny in that I'm watching this and I'm thinking, wow, they really don't have a budget for this anime despite how decent it looks. Um, I would say because Santa Claus says Kiss Anime streams anime free. You can actually get free accounts for Crunchyroll or Anime Lab. Um, I like the idea of actually paying um, some amount of money so that someone gets paid something to um, make the animation series. Now, licensing has always been a complex issue, especially for anime, because the Japanese animation companies are a little more old school, I think, and they haven't really embraced some of the newer technologies. But I don't think the price for Crunchyroll is particularly objectionable. I'll say about Crunchyroll, what's really interesting about Crunchyroll is that the catalog doesn't have all the like most well-known titles, but it has a very deep catalog. So Crunchyroll has managed to license a lot of stuff that hasn't been put to DVD or to Blu-ray, but a lot of more unique, a lot of more niche titles that I've really enjoyed. Maybe I'm a hipster or whatever. It's like me with music. I found I've ended up watching a lot more stuff on Crunchyroll because there's a lot of stuff there that is just really interesting. There's also a lot of really gross otaku kind of uh, just really gross stuff on Crunchyroll. I'll put it that way, but a lot of really interesting stuff as well. So I guess we'll get into the specific titles. Uh, the specific titles that I will nominate. Um, so one of the animes that I did enjoy this year was Sound Euphonium, or I think Ebike Euphonium. It might also be pronounced. Let me just look that up again. Yes, Hibike Euphonium, or Sound Euphonium, which I will pop into the chat now. That's actually a great anime. It's a sort of slice of life, I guess, almost drama anime about a high school musical brass band, mostly brass, uh, trying to get to a national competition, and it's quite a short anime. Uh, it's just about uh, them trying to get to, you know, they have this band instructor who it's that sort of it's almost like the Mighty Ducks, but for music, right? Uh, Rohan says lol K-On! 2.0. The funny thing is, I watched Sound Euphonium after I watched K-On! And I was watching K-On! And I really enjoyed K-On! And K-On! Is also sort of a similar slice of life comic humor anime about a high school visual K band, not a visual K, sorry, a high school just light music band. I really liked K-On! I thought it was fun, but I complained to a friend that K-On! Really, like, for an anime which is about a musical band, they hardly ever talk about music. And so my friend said, "Oh, well, you like Sound Euphonium because it's like a slice of life. It's like K-On!, except they actually talk more about music." And they do get more into music on Sound Euphonium, and there's more about brass instruments and that sort of thing. The thing about Sound Euphonium, though, is that it's not really slice of life, right? I don't consider it a slice of life unless you. Some people categorize slice of life as an anime that just. A slice of life is just an anime that is about something that happens in life, which I don't agree with because I tend to think of slice of life animes as where the main focus of the anime on any overarching plot element. It's more just slice of life always take things as they come, just like real life. Whereas something like Sound Euphonium really follows that specific arc of following the high school band as they try to get to the national competition. And a lot of the drama of that entire show comes from trying to go through that storyline. So I consider Sound Euphonium a bit more of a drama, but I'm being a bit of an anime nerd right now in talking about this. But that's worth watching. The other uh, the other uh, Hunter Max asks, "Do I like shonen or shoujo animes?" And if you don't know whether shonen is um, shonen means boy in Japanese, and or shonen or whatever, and shonen is a more kind of male oriented series. Shoujo is female or girl oriented series. Uh, I like both. Honestly, I like both. I find myself watching both. Probably I end up watching a lot more shoujo anime than your average person. Um, a lot of series now they try to actually make it appealing to both genders, which is actually quite fun to see. It's a little annoying sometimes because they get quite sort of fan servicey about it. So you'll have like um, annoying subplots in animes that just are just completely out of no. But I will say, speaking of this, the one of my other favorite animes that I watched this year that it wasn't made this year, but I did watch it this year and I found it on Crunchyroll, um, is Horo Musuko or Wandering Sun, and was that is a beautiful, beautiful anime that I watched. It's really quite a touching, affecting series. So, Horo Musuko is an anime about two basically two transgender children growing up in high school, and they're sort of before puberty. The series kind of starts before then. And it's actually quite an interesting series because most anime they play the whole gender bending thing, or the characters the boy who looks like a girl, the girl who looks like a boy. They play it for laughs, or it's sort of a funny kind of series. It's sort of funny plot element that isn't really thought about. Horo Musuko is actually, even though it's quite a heavy subject matter, uh, it does it does explore some of the emotional and some of the difficulties that transgender children would face, especially before puberty, um, in the in I guess the Japanese context. And it's a really, really, I think, touching series that way. It's extensively researched. Um, and I'll say this as someone who identifies as I guess bisexual or queer. Uh, I was really really good. I was really really happy to see the way that this anime dealt with some of these issues. I felt that it was a really good series. It's also a really um, it's a really it's also quite a funny, I guess, funny series. But some of the elements that I really liked about the anime in particular is I really like an anime where there are some characters that you may not necessarily like them. Like some of the characters, you may find them disagreeable, or they act in ways that are just they're just like big jerks or whatever. But you can understand that they why they why they act in such a way. So they're relatable in that sense, and I love that kind of characterization. So I've also been reading the manga, and I've been collecting it, but unfortunately, it's been coming out in these huge, big hardcover volumes, so it's very expensive. So I'm going to take a long time to kind of collect it. But I can really recommend this Wandering Sun, or also Horo Musuko, by Shimura Takako. Um, awesome series. It's probably not going to be for everyone, but I found this really insightful, and I found it quite touching, and I think it is worth watching. Uh, the other anime that I guess is almost in the same tone is A Silent Voice, which is actually just a manga that I've been reading, that I've read. Um, where this is a little more angsty, I guess, but it's about this deaf girl who goes to school, and this boy bullies her, and then it tracks them several years later, where he catches up with her, and he tries to resolve the things that happened in the past. And it's, yeah, 60 years later. It's again quite a funny series, but it's also quite affecting. It has amazing art, I think. I just love the way that faces are drawn in this anime. I don't know if you can see this. Uh, I can't even see what I'm showing you on the stream, but just like that's the teacher's face. It's no, wait, here. Wait, yeah, it's reversed on this thing. But the art goes from like cutesy to just to just really off the wall. And this is a great series as well, I think. So these are both very, this and Wandering Sun are both very I guess heavy subject matters for an anime, but I did really enjoy them. Uh, the other animes that I should mention that I enjoyed this year: Squid Girl, or Shin Ryaku Ika Musume, which was actually released in 2011, but I only watched it this year on Crunchyroll. Um, I thought that was actually funnier than I thought it was going to be, and despite being an anime named Squid Girl, it's it's a little less gross than you would think. It's very cute anime. I enjoyed it. Funny, cute. And I guess the other anime that I watched this year, the runner-up in my favorite anime of the year, is Batamote, which I guess you would probably know from the fact that I have a Batamote figurine. Or the English title, the direct translation is, "No matter how I look at it, it's your fault it's your guy's fault that I'm not popular." And it's about this anime. It's about this girl who has ridiculously uh, overwrought social anxiety issues, I guess. But the funny thing about this anime, and it is a comedy, even though it is sort of like a cringe comedy, it's just about her. Every single episode is about her thinking about ways to be popular, but also she has a bit of a nasty personality. So so every it's a thing where you alternately feel bad for her and also think, yeah, she's just like she's terrible. But what's interesting about that series is it depicts a girl who, for instance, there's to give you an idea of the flavor of this anime. Uh, it it's an anime where the girl, for one episode, thinks she complains that her classmates are talking about how they get molested on the train, because apparently that happens in Japan. And again, I'll paste the name of that series in the anime. Um, she complains that her classmates are complaining about getting molested on the train, and she interprets that as them bragging about how popular they are and attractive, so that they get molested. So there's an entire episode about her um, basically trying to engineer ways to get molested on the train. And then the episode ends with her actually believing that she's being molested and freaking out and thinking, why the hell would I want this? This is terrible. And it turns out someone's actually accidentally just shoved a wooden katana between her legs. So I guess that actually sets the tone for the whole series. I mean, it sounds a little crazy, but it is a funny sort of anime. I think it's not an anime that you would watch if you were first, wanting to be introduced to anime, and it is one of the most only you can only really enjoy it if you like awkward humor. But I really like it. Anyway, favorite series of the year, and you probably know this if you have been following me on Facebook or anything like that. My favorite anime of this year was something that I watched this year but was released last year, and it is Kill la Kill. Kill la Kill. I won't say too much about it. It's and again, I had to miss out on this bit. Yeah, Kill la Kill. Do I have the Kill la Kill things in? I should have prepared this earlier. No, I don't have the Kill la Kill trinkets that I have. Kill la Kill is an anime about a girl who gets a sentient sailor uniform that enables her to fight a high school, a fascist high school system in order to find out who killed her father. And Kill la Kill is funny. It's a deconstruction of a lot of fan service anime tropes, but it's also quite controversial in that it is sort of what it also criticizes in some senses. But it is, I think, a series that's worth watching. It has so much frenetic energy. If you liked FLCL, and if you liked, I guess, all the animes from that same director, because he worked on parts of FLCL, he made Gurren Lagann and Panty and Stocking. Kill la Kill is awesome. So that's my favorite anime of the year. Um, and you should watch it. It is really awesome. Again, I wouldn't recommend it to someone who's just starting out watching anime because it's sort of weird and odd in many ways, and a lot of the jokes are very in-jokey. So again, as I've always said, if you want to watch an anime and you don't know where to start, watch Full Metal Alchemist. I think that's the easiest one. But yeah, Kill la Kill. Okay, so I'm just gonna check through the comments now, and give my voice a bit of a rest. Rohan Espera asked me, please say the uh, full name of Watamote, and I will try that. I've actually been trying to learn Japanese through smartphone apps. So I've learned some hiragana, which is kind of cool that you could do that from a few smartphone apps. So I'll try to say this. Uh, Watashi ga motenai no wa dou kangaete mo omae ga warui. I'll probably have horrible accent on this. Watashi ga motenai no wa do kangaete mo omae ga warui. The most complex phrase I can say in Japanese is "dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu," and I'm demonstrating how I'm slowly becoming more of a weeb as time goes on because I'm now trying to learn Japanese. It's sort of a distressing. Yeah, I still haven't watched the Watamote EP. Anyway, okay, so last category, I suppose, of favorite thing of the year that I will mention is favorite video game of the year. So, I'll start again by mentioning some of my favorite games that I've played this year that were kind of contenders for my favorite game, but not quite. The first one I will mention is Cities Skylines. So let me know in the comments if you played City Skylines like I did, and let me know if in the comments you played City Skylines like I did by. Sorry, I didn't mean to inadvertently burp. There was no connection between that and City Skylines. It's not part of my commentary on City Skylines that it made me burp. But you played City Skylines, me, in that you stayed up until 3 a.m. building highway connections. So, City Skylines is the successor, I guess, from another studio, a brother from another mother of of the SimCity series. So, SimCity 5 was an awful mess, and so European studio Paradox Interactive, I believe, set up City Skylines. They made that game really in-depth simulation, especially a really great traffic simulation. Almost City Skylines is more like a traffic simulator. If you like, there's not much to say about it. If you've played SimCity, if you've played SimCity, you appreciate City Skylines. It's a great game. Haha. And yeah, you can spend ages and ages optimizing highway connections. That's what I enjoyed most about it. The other game that I will mention that I really enjoyed this year was Steins Gate. Steins Gate, which I will paste into the chat. Which is a visual novel which I've been playing on the Vita. It's about time travel. The thing about Steins Gate is that it is probably one of the more in-depth explorations of time travel I've seen in a series. It's actually an anime, I mean, I guess a visual novel that goes quite in depth into some of the theory behind uh, time travel. Um, and what I really like about it is that Steins Gate is a series where it starts off with a bunch of small kids in a lab who inadvertently seem to have built a time machine, and then they uncover a vast international conspiracy about time travel technology. So I say, and Pack Demon asks, wait, there's a 2015 Steins Gate? Yes, there was, because Steins Gate was, there was an English release of Steins Gate on the Vita and the PlayStation um, uh, in 2015, even though the game was made much earlier. So I've been playing that. It's funny as a visual novel. I mean, if you're after a really interactive experience, you're not going to get it. Steins Gate, half the time on Steins Gate uh, was half the time on Steins Gate was me trying to figure out how much of this is actually even how much of this was even how much of it was even interactive? Because it was a lot of it. A lot of it is I don't know. Not much interactive elements are in Steins Gate. It's almost a visual novel. So, oh, it is a visual novel. Sorry, I'm sorry. Completely losing my train of thought here. Uh, but it is something that has a cast of characters that I think are really interesting. It's a sort of emotionally effective story, even though it's about time travel. And I find that the best time travel narratives are able to explore quite a lot of things using time travel as the sort of mechanism of the series. Um, yeah, it's good science fiction. But I mean, two other games that I'll mention just quickly that I really enjoyed this year was Splatoon on the Wii U. Kind of why I bought my Wii U. Kind of the only game that I really ended up playing on my Wii U. Sort of regret buying the Wii U just to play that one game, but whatever. Splatoon has been great. Her Story, which I actually played on a live stream on this channel, which I really enjoyed. Her Story, which I will mention, that's a sort of live action interactive narrative game. I should not have pressed that button. No, okay, that's fine. Um, her story, her story, which I found a you know interactive thing where you go through videos of this person who you're trying to assess whether or not they committed a specific murder, and it is sort of a throwback to a lot of old live action Full Metal not sorry, full motion video games. But it actually works incredibly well. Incredibly well. It's worth watching. Um, Angelo says play Life is Strange or Telltale. Um, I like Telltale games. I haven't played Life is Strange yet because I don't have a console that will run it. Um, but I would look forward to playing Life is Strange. Okay, so what I will say is, I will say my favorite game of the year is sorry, getting distracted. My favorite game of the year, and I will play some music, is my favorite game of the year, made by the independent video game developer Toby Fox, a throwback to Super Nintendo or Nintendo RPGs, JRPGs, Earthbound, is Undertale. Sorry, I have to play the applause as well. Undertale released this year. Again, if you've been following me on Facebook, you would not have been surprised by that, and Adam earlier guessed. Undertale, great game. I mean, it's a game that references a lot of anime tropes and a lot of old Japanese RPG tropes. And it's a game that has a specific kind of humor. Not everyone's gonna love it. Oh god, something scary happening with the stream right now. Undertale, I really enjoyed it. I found it a hilarious game, a really endearing game, and it's a game in the same vein. And I really don't like, it's a game that the less you know about it, I guess, the better. But I'll say it's a game that, in the same vein as something like Bioshock, or the Stanley Parable. And it may not seem like it, it's a game that really looks at player motivations and what a player really does, what a developer really expects a a player of a game to do in a video game. Um, and it's a bit hard for me to say it, explain what I mean without really spoiling a lot of major elements of the game. Just if you like your old school Super Nintendo games, and uh, you like your old games like Earthbound and stuff, um, check out Undertale. It is genuinely a funny game that I think is awesome. So awesome. Rohan says Evangelion, congratulations, clap. So it's omedeto, omedeto, omedeto. Okay. Sorry, that was just a weeby joke that I made there. Okay. Now, we come into the last thing that I will talk about formally, that I have notes for on this channel, and it is technically my favorite overall thing, and I can really be really sort of cliche and say a bunch of different things, but I guess I should update you on the actual channel itself, I guess, in this opportunity. So I will play the medals. How do I? No, wait. There we go. Of 39 seconds. So my favorite thing of the year, I would say, because I've taken this break from the headphone channel, and it's given me a sort of sense of priorities in some senses. What I will say is that when I come to return to this channel, to active duty, I guess I will go through a bit of a pivot for this channel. I will try to be talking about other things that I'd like to share, and obviously it'll be much more structured than I'm doing now, which is just a hangout, which is just a talking off the top of my head. Because I realize my favorite thing about having this YouTube channel is not necessarily the headphones, because after a while you can get over headphones. You can have too many headphones, which I've been in that situation, but I have really enjoyed the the kind of community and the kind of opportunity, I guess, to talk, to make a video and then have a bunch of people comment, the same people I see uh, over time, and that's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of cool. I guess it's kind of cool, I guess, to go on the street and have some people, some of the subscribers from your channel walk up to you and say, "Hey, I know you from the YouTube channel." It's always a bit weird, but it's like, "Hey, and that's only happened about 10 times. I can say it's happened about 10 times. But it is, I can say that having, and I encourage anyone who's watching YouTube channels. One of the best things in my life that I've ever done is to start this YouTube channel. And I really encourage people, if you have something to say or something to share, just give it a go. If you're not good at it, just keep trying. Um, if it's a so awesome. Um, and yeah, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who uh, has been with me throughout this year and who continue to stay subscribed even due to my long hiatus. The channel will return next year in with some tweaks, I guess, here and there. I'm still working them out, and if you have any suggestions or comments, again, I'll be very happy to hear them. But yeah, thank you so much. And again, yes, this is live, so um, I can see your comments in the comment box. What I will do now is I will turn this this stream into more of a Q&A format, so I will respond to your specific comments in the chat. What I will do actually though is I will probably end the actual archived part of the stream around here. It's always very awkward when I sign off like this, but there's no other way to do it. So I'll end the archive part of the stream. I will continue talking to you in the questions and the comments. But if you're watching this, thank you so much for joining the stream. I hope you have a very, very happy holidays and a Merry Christmas or anything else that you celebrate, whatever you do, you're doing for the end of the year, for your New Year's. I hope you celebrate it with family and friends. You have a good time. And I hope that you survive until the end of the year because it can be a stressful period for a lot of people. So hopefully it's a good time for you, and thank you so much for joining in. So I'm going to terminate the stream, as I said, but I will continue being in the chat and the comments. So thank you and bye.